Despite being a conference newcomer, expectations are high for Oregon and its quarterback. Dillon Gabriel this week, one of 2 Ducks to be named preseason honors at Big Ten Media Days in Indy. Gabriel joined the Ducks this offseason, a 6th-year transfer from Oklahoma, enters the year at a tie for 4th in NCAA history in career total touchdowns, while ranking 7th in total yards and 8th in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. Danny Kanell and Josh Pate at Lucas Oil Stadium catching up with Gabriel.
Big Ten Media Days rolls on. Oregon's in the house. Dillon Gabriel here, and man, that's a new uniform, and so we got a whole new surrounding. It's Big Ten Media Day now for you. So I know you've told your story, but that may be heard locally. Like a lot of people nationally haven't really heard you talk about what goes into that decision. What all goes into that decision to say, I'm going to go find a new home this year?
Yeah, it's a lot. Definitely a journey, to say the least. But just been a fun one, you know, and I think when that decision ultimately came about, you know, it was competing for a national championship, being around guys who are like-minded and can help support and kind of match same energy, and then lastly, just being in an environment that has a high explosive offense, and you know what they did last year, what they're bringing back and what they wanted to bring in, and then of course being at Oregon, you know, we have a very clear vision of what we want to accomplish. So it was an easy decision for me, probably the easiest decision of my life, and just a lot of fun through this 7 months.
I think one of the things that I'm excited about for you is when you watch what Bo Nix did in that system, I think your skill set fits very similarly, and I think you're going to challenge a lot of his numbers. Extremely accurate, put up great numbers. When you watch his film and you watch yourself and you plug and play and you start envisioning that, how much of a process is it getting comfortable in the system and kind of getting up to speed with terminology in a new system?
Yeah, I'll say this, you know, just watching last year, I think you have a clear kind of vision of what it could look like operating at a high level. And I think that's, you know, very encouraging for a quarterback, let alone myself, being able to play in that and see what they accomplished last year and kind of go do it for myself and with this team. But I think, you know, kind of the adjustment has been, you know, from the McDonald's menu, one word, you know, ordering a number 1 with a Coke, to, you know, potentially a Bible verse, you know, remembering that. But it's been good for me. You know, I've played in a bunch of different systems, learned a lot, played through a lot of concepts, so that has definitely helped me. But just speaking the same language, that's something that, you know, I continue to emphasize and effectively communicate with one another. You know, it's something that's hard to do, easy to say, but, you know, we're focused on that. I think, you know, early on there was some challenge, but I think that May, June, and July just took full advantage of it and feel really comfortable about it.
That Bible verse, too, isn't Jesus wept. It's a lot longer than that.
It's not. It's not.
It's a lot longer.
If Danny and I lived in Norman and we moved to Eugene, we'd go find a house, we'd get to know the area, we'd develop friends, find our favorite restaurants. You're moving up there and you're totally business-minded and you're in a bubble a little bit. So, like, what is the acclimation period like for someone who is up there with such a specific purpose? I'm the quarterback at Oregon now.
Yeah, I'll say this. You know, transferring once, there was definitely some ups and downs and learning curves, but I think that second time, believe it or not, was a lot easier. Just focusing on routine and trying to create that as fast as possible, but trying to find, you know, people that you can connect with that can make your job a lot easier, whether it's finding a barber that can give you a haircut or, you know, as easy as that, but also, you know, moving in general is difficult. So it happened fast, but, you know, I had a lot of great people around me, a lot of support at Oregon that helped made that transition extremely smooth. And, you know, I'd say this is probably the smoothest it could be in terms of transitioning to, you know, Oregon. But it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I think early on there was that challenge, but, you know, you hit stride in May after spring ball and kind of look over the installs a second time and watch through spring practice, and you just feel a lot more comfortable with speaking the language and kind of being immersed in, you know, Oregon's, you know, whole atmosphere and stuff.
You're wearing number 8. What's the significance of number 8 for you?
It means a lot. You know, growing up, Marcus, the man, kind of the guy who started it all for us. And, of course, there's a bunch of other guys, but, you know, him playing the quarterback position definitely kind of was a connection for me directly. And, you know, just seeing Marcus do what he did at Oregon, and then ultimately me being there as well, it's special, you know, and I don't take it lightly. Wearing the number 8 is something that, you know, is an honor. It's a privilege. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, I wouldn't want it any other way. So, yeah, I'm excited. Marcus is doing his thing, and hopefully we can bring it back and do something similar.
We'll get you out of here on this. So you're at Oregon. It's a new coaching staff. Describe your impressions of Dan Lanning, Coach Stein, like your offensive staff, and then also your first impressions of the roster that you're surrounded by.
Yeah, 6th year. I kind of have a vibe for what's real, what's not, and I just appreciate the realness of conversation, but also a man that is true to his word, and I got that from Coach Stein and Coach Lanning right away. And I think that's something to, speak volume about is, that's not usually the case in a lot of places, but I'm grateful to be where I'm at and blessed to have coaches like that. And then speaking about talent, man, not a lot of places can do 2-spot and it'd be, efficient, run well, and a lot of competition, and we were able to do that all spring. So it's something that I'm definitely new to. I'm used to a 1-spot and competing, but I think it allows everyone to be a better version of themselves. Whether it's a older guy bringing up younger guys, being competitive, kind of stepping into that leadership role, or a young guy, kind of getting a lot of reps and kind of getting acclimated to the culture and college football. So I think it makes everyone better. If that's just a little key into the talent, it's special, and I'm grateful that we have all that to build with.
I'm a sneakerhead, and I am jealous of Oregon's sneaker game.
Yep.
What's been the best hookup from the shoes at Oregon?
I mean, Doof does a really good job. Our collective, Division Street, they kind of do exclusive merchandise, for the Oregon community, and they got some good shoes. They got some good clothing as well that kind of just good touches on top of what we already get. So it's a lot of fun. The merchandise, everything you could dream of is there. I just try to see where I can maximize and put my swag and touch on it.
Dillon Gabriel, man, best of luck this season. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Loving the pin from Dillon Gabriel at Media Days with the fellas. That's one heck of a quarterback room with Gabriel and Dante Moore out in Eugene. In terms of odds to win the Heisman, Gabriel a slight favorite over Carson Beck, 7-1 versus plus 750. Gabriel and the Ducks open up their preseason camp July 31st.